Okay, so in this tutorial we're going to look over how to warp audio. So first of all, I'm going to use a really basic example. So I'm going to click and drag this file here. It's a file that I've made with Flux, so there's no copyright control for me. There's no copyright issues for me, should I say. Now if I click and hold it and hover over this MIDI, notice that I can still drop it in there. It will convert these MIDI tracks to audio. I may as well drop it into an actual audio track. I'm only going to use 2 audio tracks for this, so I'm going to delete those 2 MIDI. So if I double click here, instantly I can see that it's analysed the waveform, and also if I scroll right down to the very beginning, where I can see that 1.1.1, otherwise known as 1 here, the beginning of the track is set to halfway across this waveform right here, which is a bit strange. Notice that it's also set the segment BPM, so the segment, i.e. the whole track, is set to 131, and also our tempo here is also set to 131. Okay, so let's put on the metronome and press play. So notice that the kick drum is actually coming on the half beat, so it's kind of got the warping slightly wrong. It feels like it's still in time, but it feels like we need to get this set here. So set 1.1.1 here, and we're also going to use this function here, warp from here straight. So once I've done that, see there is a warp mark there in front. That's also gone. So let's have a quick listen to that. Okay, that sounds pretty dead end. Yep, sounds in. Okay, so we can say that pretty much the entire track is locked in. I would say, just to make doubly sure, it's a good idea to actually scroll to towards the end point of your track where there's still a kick drum, and scroll down. And if you have a look at these warps here, so it's got what's called a pseudo warp when I hover over it. So it kind of highlights and suggests that there's a line going down. It highlights in grey on my setup. If I double click that, it's gone to blue, and I can drag this across. So putting a warp right at the end of the track will actually straighten it up right from the start to finish. So it's a good idea to put a warp at the beginning and at the end, and this kind of guarantees that your whole track is going to be in. Okay, so that's it. So now let's use an example that's a little bit more tricky, and so I'm going to go into some of my own material. So just duct. I like to play around with stuff that's a bit more, I don't know, what's the word? Syncopated, maybe. So double click here, and I can see instantly that it's analyzing the file, and it's also working out what tempo is at. So instantly it's coming back, it's saying at 131.02. Actually, the track was recorded or made at 131, so that's done a pretty good estimate. So this track's slightly different. It's analysed it, and it's come back and said that it's got all these warp marks here. And what that suggests is that there's not a consistent tempo throughout, and that the tempo is varying ever so slightly, and that's why there's these warp marks, where I actually know that that's not the case. It's just a slightly syncopated off rhythm, and Ableton's not quite got where the warp markers should be. So notice here right at the beginning, this is our first bit of audio, and I'm going to set 1.1 here. I'm also going to set warp markers from here straight, so warp from here straight. And notice as soon as I've done that, all the warp marks that were previously in there, these blue marks here, they've now gone. So our segment BPM is 130.99, and we can kind of guess if it's at 1.99 that in actual fact it's going to be at 131. It's quite rare that people make stuff at 130.99, so we can kind of guess with that. So let's stop this one here and listen to this with the metronome. Sounds into me so far.
Jungle.
Yeah, that sounds in so far. So let's have a listen over here. Okay, and that's still. So let's also put another warp marker around here just to kind of lock it in. And you can see here. It looks like it strikes there. In a way, I kind of want this transient. Is it changing it too much? So it feels as if that should lock in there. So let's see. So that's pretty locked in. So again, using this technique of just one at there and one at the end, this works on different tracks, like a techno track here, and something that's a little bit more alternative in terms of like rhythmical placements. I think it's just basically working out, making judgments on what Ableton's analysed, and then being able to kind of work out for yourself through trial and error what kind of is going to work with the track. Yeah, I think there's a very simple explanation for it, and we can go into more detail on warp marking in future tutorials with things that do change tempo, i.e. a lot more live stuff, not electronic stuff. Okay, I hope that helps.